Welcome to the 2350 Effect.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2350 Effect. I'm the co-host, collaborator of the 2350 Effect, Damian Kinsey, the 2350 Network, the virtual wellness experience in the upcoming October Professional Work-Life Balance Summit. And, you know, it's so great that it's the 28th of June. That means this month is flying by, it's going quickly. Those holiday seasons are approaching again. The 4th of July in the U.S. states is coming up soon. And, you know, this is our last live for the month of June. And I'm joined by a great group of guests. We're going to have a lot of therapeutic conversations, trauma rebuilding, grief conversations with a great panelist and group of individuals who are part of the 2350 Network, but have spread their expertise in helping people and individuals. I'm joined by an individual who has spent the last 8 some odd years doing grief support, trauma, therapeutic support, helping families, human beings, and individuals. Please welcome Deanna to the 2350 Effect Live. Deanna, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I am so good. How are you doing, Damian?
I'm doing good, and like we said in the back, you know, it's been a while since we've had a conversation and seen each other for a while. So I'm excited, and always excited to always hear when you speak, especially when you do the summits. You come on the 2350 Effect, and thank you for your time and coming here, Deanna.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
And you know the good part about the Deanna, you don't have to do the heavy lifting alone. You have support coming up as well. Dr. Q has spent so many years in helping kids, families, communities in the Baltimore, DC area. She has her own UMEED Center for healing support. Please welcome Dr. Q to the 2350 Effect. Dr. Q, welcome.
Hi, Damian. Hi, Deanna. How are you guys doing?
I am doing great. And hi, Christy. And those people out there in LinkedIn world, please put your information out there. Let us know where you're joining us from. We are going to have a packed conversation, and I'm definitely looking forward to the conversation today. But, you know, these conversations wouldn't be good if we don't start with a... All right, so we always start with a laugh, a call, a text. So what is that thing in the last 7 days that made you laugh out loud, call somebody, or text? I'll go first. I'm still reeling off the greatness of my New York Knicks. So my laugh, my calls, my texts, you know, for Father's Day, I got my dad, we got my dad a Knicks shirt. It has all the players on it, the starting 5. So that is my laugh, my call, my text. And also, we celebrated my mom's 70th birthday this weekend.
Nice.
That is my laugh, my call, my text. All right. So we introduced Deanna first. So we're going to go with you, Dr. Q. What did your laugh, your call, your text for the last week?
You know, oh my God, I have so many answers. First and foremost, in a nutshell, I have a 7-year-old nephew now living with me, so I get tons of laugh, especially when he tells me I'm too old and I don't know what I'm doing. But the one that I think that stands out the most is Father's Day brunch that we had at UMEED Center this past Sunday. It was just an amazing, amazing experience. And we had a lot of laughs. We had Preacher Moss, who is a comedian, well known in the DC area and internationally. So he had us laugh many, 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 many times for about 45 minutes while we actually cried, but also brought all of our fathers into the room, whether they've been deceased or whether they were MIA and couldn't really show up. So it was just amazing, amazing for me.
That is definitely a great laugh call text. Having a Father's Day and having a comedian come through. So, and congrats to you on your nephew and having custody and supporting the young people.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Deanna, how about you? What is your laugh call text for the last 7 days?
Yesterday morning, I woke up to a text from my sister. She's moved to Hawaii with her husband. So this text came through in the middle of the night, my time. But she's talking about she's waiting for a doctor's appointment on base. And she said that a woman checks in for a doctor's appointment on base. And her birthday is like October 7th, 2007. And Anne-Marie, my sister, goes, "Isn't that wild? They're letting 10-year-olds into the military now." And it made me laugh out loud. She just, anyway, just it has a quirky sense of humor. And it made me laugh. She's like, 2007, that was only 10 years ago. How is it possible?
I love that one. That's definitely funny. And I know you and your sister are really close, so that definitely is close. So I love that one. All right. So, hey, Christy. Hey, Jackie. Jackie, happy recovery. Jackie, those people who know Jackie, she donated a kidney last week, and she's in recovery. That should have been my laugh call text because I reached out to her several times. But shout out to Jackie for being a donor and being on the other side of that. She's out and about during that transition. All right, so let's get right through it. The profession you choose is a very thankless profession. You tend to take on other people's energies, their experience, their trauma. What made you get into this particular profession? And also, when you answer that question, tell people a little bit about your specialties.
Okay.
All right. You want to go? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So my specialty is couple and family therapy, and it goes all the way back to my undergrad story, which I think I've shared numerous times online. I was actually slotted ready to go into traditional med school. And ta-da, I took a family studies course, and everything just felt so right. Mind you, I was struggling in the sciences and chemistry anyway. I had to retake organic once and twice. So med school already, I always wanted to be a doctor, but med school wasn't going to cut it for me. It would have been a struggle. But I put on my big girl pants. I did my pre-med, but my last semester I took a family studies course and the light bulb went off. And I'm like, oh, ooh, sibling positions. I'm the oldest. Parentification. And it just all made sense. It helped me make sense of my family and the experiences that I had. So, of course, me and my curious self, I went to an advisor and I was like, hey, what's going on with this family studies courses? And then they kind of laid out an entire plan for me and said, oh, you can actually do this, 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 and this with it. And I took a big risk. I added family studies as another bachelor's in undergrad, applied to master's, several master's program in family therapy. And then I got recruited back for my PhD in the same program at Drexel University. And here I am 20 years later, helping families heal and grow while I am living parallel lives with them. I would have to say that as a mental health professional, life is rough. Not only is it in the therapy room, in the work that we do, but we also experience the same traumas, the same lived experiences, the challenges, the grief, loss, the joy, all of that, self-doubt, failure, accomplishments. We are literally living parallel lives. Yet, I think people expect us to do better sometimes because we're the professionals, right? And I'm sure me and Deanna can talk about that at another segment too. But here I am helping families, and while I'm doing that healing work with my own family as well. So that's my story of becoming a relational trauma therapist, not just a family therapist, but a relational trauma expert.
You know, the good part about you saying that is that we think as people, not necessarily me, as people, we believe that, you know, because we go for a service for someone, that they're all whole all the time and that they're not going through stuff. And we forget the fact that we're all human. We have our own stuff going through. So I'm glad you said that and kind of put that out there, that we, regardless of if whatever therapy you go through or therapist you meet with, they're still human beings as well. And they're still going on their stuff and they're checking it professionally to show up for you. And I love that you said that. And thank you for saying that, Dr. Q.
You're welcome.
Deanna, how about you?
Oh man. Sometimes I feel like I was a little bit destined for therapy work. I've always been naturally inclined towards caregiving, and I think most therapists are. And when I was a young child, when I was 3.5, my brother died of cancer, which has set me up, I think, for an interest in grief and loss work, an interest for trauma work. I like to tell people that I was raised by 2 grieving parents. And I had my own grief. And so I have lived a lot of that. And that's a space that I'm very comfortable in. So I think that led me towards being interested in the therapy work. And I'm also, I think, just kind of a naturally curious person. I like to know things. I like to know about people and what's happening and why they're choosing what they're choosing to do in terms of what's motivating their behaviors, what's motivating how they think or feel or process the world. And so those are things that I find really fascinating about the therapeutic process. And you know, I did my undergrad. I actually studied theology in my undergrad, and then I took some time off. I worked in college admissions and did some things before I went to grad school. And then I went to grad school, and I was fortunate to find a program that allowed me to work evenings or allowed me to do classes on the evenings and weekends, so I could work full time. And now I can say I've been doing this work for about 10 years, and I love it. In addition to the private practice work, I'm also a supervisor for new clinicians, pre-licensed clinicians, and that's also a really great thing to get to do. It challenges me a lot in my work, but therapy is deeply meaningful work. And Dr. Q is absolutely right. Like, we experience the same things as the people that we treat. I think one of the misconceptions about therapists is that we don't feel bad ever. And that's absolutely not true. We do feel bad. We have hard things in our lives, and sometimes things feel sad because they're just sad, in the same way that things feel happy because they're happy. So we experience life ourselves in addition to helping the people that we treat.
So it's good that you said that. I was going to segue to another question. We do a lot, like both of you have been a part of either the virtual wellness experience or the professional work-life balance summit, or both. Who do you lean on? Because your job is definitely a job of service of other people. You take on a lot of trauma and a lot of things other individuals go through. You have your own life and your own balances. Who do you lean on to when things get heavy for you?
Should I go?
You can go.
I lean on a lot of different things. So first and foremost, I think it would be my colleagues. I think the people that I've met in my life in this journey have played a significant role. I've created my own sense of community where I have friends, I have colleagues, I have family members, I have a village, and every person is different. And depending on what's going on, I have I have space. I have someone to go to that I can lean on. So, just as, this community in itself, 2350, right? Like I remember when you guys just had started it. I remember when Damien, you were doing a podcast with me. I remember, us meeting outside of LinkedIn for the first time and you supporting. And then over the years, I have colleagues, I have friends, I have colleagues that have become really good friends. So I lean on them. And then, of course, there is, family as well. I have some family back home that are there to support me emotionally. And then my brother's playing a significant part in that right now for about a year and a half. So, we're working through our relationships. We're healing our childhood traumas that, shape us to who we are right now. So that's like another form of healing as we're like repairing ruptured bonds as well.
And thank you for that, sharing that. It made me think about when we first kind of met and whatnot, and the work you were doing in the community, and it continues with your center. And I'm quite sure your the family dynamics and support. I know a little bit about that, so thank you for sharing that. Deanna, how about you? Like, who do you lean on?
Oh, definitely colleagues. I mean, I think in any profession, nobody understands what you do, like the people who are doing it alongside you. And you form really meaningful friendships. And therapists, I think in general, really like to go deep. That's how we're doing this work. So you have colleagues who go deep with you, and it's rich and lovely. I also lean, of course, on my sister. Everybody hears me talk about her. My family, my partner, various people that provide a lot of strength for me. What I'll also say to this, though, is that the human capacity for healing is extraordinary, both physically and in terms of trauma. We do hear a lot in our profession that is hard to take, but the people sometimes take in. But sometimes what is important and can get lost is that what we're also doing with people is working towards healing. And truly, I've heard stories, extraordinary stories of people who have been physically injured in any number of ways that have healed from those injuries, because I think the body and the mind want to heal. And the same goes for this work. So it's also very hopeful work, because really people get better, they can get better, and they do get better. And we get to witness it like in the front row and be a part of that journey. And that is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, as a deep thinker, curious person, I don't think we know how to have superficial relationships on the top. Like I can't. I don't have a poker face anyway, let alone trying to show up in superficial settings where, people. No, my time is very limited. So it's going to be about quality. If I show
100%.
up for you and you see me at your place, you matter.
Yes.
You matter a
100%.
lot.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
thank you both for showing up. And let me know that I matter.
The 2350 effect matters.
Appreciate it. Y'all both probably heard the expression that every therapist either needs a therapist or a mentor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that? Why is that so important?
Well, I think maybe me and Deanna can go back and forth, because I think there's many different reasons. I think one of the first main reasons is we're humans, which is what I said earlier, right? So we are not protected from illness. We're not protected from trauma. We're not protected from abuse. Like the list can go on, right? So we have the same experiences and the impact that people in front of us are having. So that's like you asking me, do you get a physical every year? Well, yeah. Right? So why wouldn't we have a therapist, right? Like I think more people need to start seeing mental health therapy in that regard. Like, have I gotten my mental wellness checkup this year, right? That's why they start doing screenings and then people refer you, right? So yeah, I think one of the things is because we're just humans.
Oh, absolutely. I can't imagine doing this work and not having been a therapist. I think like anecdotally speaking, in exit surveys from people who do training programs, that kind of multi-year training programs, this is outside of the degree program to become a therapist, but other training programs which often require some sort of therapy. In those exit surveys, often therapists who do the training programs will say that the most meaningful part of those programs was their own therapy, because you can really only go as deep with someone else as you can go within yourself, and therapy helps you go deeper, and sets the framework for that. And so I've done, I don't know, 12, 13 years of therapy. It's been extraordinarily valuable to me. I will continue to do more therapy because at each stage in my life, new part of my life, I have more to learn about myself. And so I don't view therapy as some sort of failure or weakness, of course, but as a part of my own journey that I'm doing alongside other folks, and it has made me a better therapist.
I like that you talking about going deep and being able to and having those opportunities, and you talk about 13 years of being in therapy. In certain communities, it is very hard, and especially in the Black community at times, it's hard to open up to people, individuals. It's a trust factor a lot of times, which is issues. Can you kind of talk about the process of actually choosing someone to be a therapist and having that partnership and relationship from client to therapist, and how important that is?
Well, you could ask your prospective therapist questions. Ask them questions about themselves, about their training, even about their belief systems, in terms of like whether or not they're a safe person for you to open up to. Ask them if they've had therapy. I mean, I would not see a therapist myself who hasn't had therapy. And so I think you're absolutely right. Like if you look in the Black community, there has not historically been a safe place to go that can be trusted. And so finding that can be much harder. But I think that's worth kind of, if you're, looking for a therapist and talking to therapists, that you can say that and express that as a concern, engage kind of how they handle that. It'll give you a good sense, I think, of whether or not they could be a good fit.
Thank you. How about you, Dr. Q?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Deanna, and I would add to that is, I mean, I say this very often, people are looking for therapists and providers and healers that look like them. And that does not mean every person that you can relate to on a racial level, religion, etc., gender, all of that, you're going to connect with, right? But there's something about your lived experiences as a person with your social identity that people are seeking, because it is easier to understand, right? So like for me, most of my referrals, well, actually, I wouldn't say most. I do get a lot of Muslim females. I get a lot of women. I obviously get a lot of couples from different backgrounds. But if I were to say like one identity of mine that attracts people to me is the Islamic background. Age matters too. They look at my picture and they're like, oh, this looks like a fun therapist. So there's so many variables, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, you know what, Dr. Q, thank you for saying that, because my last therapist, I had to explain why I couldn't move out of my house because I turned 18. I spent sessions trying to explain to my therapist as a Pakistani Muslim child, why I'm not really an adult at 18. So it was like that, oh, thank you. And that's just one example, right? So I think people are looking for individuals that can understand their lived experience without actually telling them about their lived experience. So I think energy matters. I think conversations come ready with questions. Look at their credentials. So for example, there's a lot of people that are doing couple and family therapy, but they don't have the couple and family therapy degrees. And I'm not knocking anybody, because I've seen horrible couple and family therapists, and I've also seen great psychologists or clinical social workers that do really good couple and family therapy. Yet you have to have some training for it. And you have to understand there's a difference between, again, in my world, there's a difference between family counseling, collaborative family sessions versus family therapy. And a lot of people do family counseling and collaborative family sessions, but they don't do family therapy.
You touched on it, so I would love you to really go there. What is the difference?
What is the difference?
Yes.
Well, I guess, let's break it down, right? Like, so do you want me to go into the question about the different professions?
Yes, please.
Okay. So to become a therapist, there's different ways that you can get here. For example, me and Deanna had 2 different trajectories, right? We had 2 different degrees, but we do a lot of similar work, right? So there's at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 main professions right now where you can go into mental health counseling. So you kind of have to mental health therapy / counseling, social work. So you kind of have to sit down with an academic advisor and ask yourself, okay, do I want to go get a master's in social work? Do I want to go get a master's in clinical psychology? Do I want to get a master's in mental health counseling? Do I want to get a master's in family therapy, art therapy? There's dance and play therapy. There's a lot of different things. And then once you get your master's, you can get your license, and then you can actually work towards your full clinical license. And then there's all these different trainings that as a licensed professional, you can actually do. So any full licensure person can become an EMDR therapist. Anyone can become CBT certified or DBT certified. There's a lot of different certification. So you can get to that by different starting points, yet you have to find what's your niche, right? What is your specialty? Because there's so much you can do. So for me, I'm a family therapist at heart, but I do individual therapy. I do couples. I do a little bit, I wouldn't say art therapy, but art techniques, right? So the difference, going back to your question about family counseling versus therapy, and then collaborative sessions. So I'll break it down. Collaborative family sessions is when you have an individual client that you're seeing and you bring the family in to give them updates and talk about things in general in how therapy is going or what the treatment plan goes off. You're kind of including them, but they're not part of the actual therapy. You're not necessarily sitting there and talking about those trauma wounds and why they act the way that they act and what has triggered them. It's like more planning, collaborative. Some therapists will go a little bit, but it's collaborative sessions. The difference between counseling and therapy for me is I think therapy just in general goes a lot deeper in terms of your trauma wounds, whereas counseling could be, and Deanna, I'm going to leave you to answer that because you do a lot of grief work too, right? But you've also have had extensive training in it too, right? So counseling to me is, and what makes a difference is that you are helping guide people and coaching them. Again, coaching is a whole different field, but that's the word I'm going to use right now, right? You're mentoring them, you're helping them understand, right, the symptoms, like the behaviors, etc., right? Yet you may not necessarily have to dig deeper in there. So counseling to me can be more solution focused versus like the deep down nervous system stuff that, a lot of therapists do. And that is not to say that counselors are not doing it, because I'm also a LCPC, but that's just my credentials for licensing purposes. So that would be my spiel.
Thank you. Deanna, what you have to add to that?
I think that the only thing that I would add to that is for people who are doing therapy, most of them are trained in wanting licensure. They're wanting to be able to be licensed in their state to do therapy. Their title, their credentials, like their licensing title may include the word counselor. That's pretty common, but not. It gets so complicated because the words are used interchangeably. But if you're licensed mental health practitioner in some way, shape, or form, you're probably, and and doing outpatient therapy, you're probably doing very deep therapy work. Whereas, sometimes I think pastors in a church may do premarital counseling, but they're not actually mental health certified. So counseling can mean more things than therapy does. Therapy is really associated with a licensed professional or someone who's working towards that licensure to do sometimes long-term outpatient work.
And thank you both for saying that, because the reason why I asked that is because it's not one size fit all and everything isn't the same. And sometimes as individuals who might not even be in the field, we think it's the same. And even picking your particular counselor or therapist takes work. It takes research. It takes fit. It takes building that relationship, that comfort zone. And then also knowing exactly what you need as a person, an individual. And does this person have the expertise, the passion, or the skill set to actually perform the supports that you need? So I love that y'all answer that, and thank you for saying that. I did want to touch on something else because it made me think of boundaries professionally, like licensure and boundaries. And can you talk about the what goes into the licensing process, because you're not necessarily licensed in every state. It doesn't go, you go to school, you get this degree, you pass the test, and you license everywhere. It doesn't go that way. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
What I think happens for most in the therapy profession, the best way I can liken it is like a physician, actually. When you graduate with a degree in mental health field, a master's or PhD to practice as a therapist, it's a little bit like it's not the same, but it's a little bit like being a resident physician. A resident physician cannot practice without being supervised by an attending. There's a whole chain of like who you're kind of reporting to, if you will, in your medical work. And it's a little bit similar for therapists. So I'm a supervisor for pre-licensed therapist. A pre-licensed therapist is someone who's graduated with a degree in their mental health field. And then they meet with me until they reach their required hours to consult on their cases. And then they can apply for full licensure. And then that licensure is specific to your state, which is another reason why it can be very, very difficult to understand what's happening, because a master's level therapists like me, the license for that is said differently in different states. But then there's also for master's level clinicians and for PhD level clinicians, there is a pact you can enter that can allow you to practice in multiple states, any participating state. So just to make it more complicated for you, that makes it even more complicated. So yeah. Dr. Q, anything you'd add to that? Because it is hard to explain without like a chart and a graph and a whiteboard and dry erase markers.
Yeah, I mean, what I would just say is there are a lot of things put in place, right? Licensure regulation wise, when it comes down to your academics, but also your clinical hours to get to where you need to be. So when someone is licensed, know that they worked really hard for it. It's not an easy thing, okay? And then what I would also say is you also have to be an approved supervisor to supervise people too. You can't just be like, hey, I'm licensed, I can go supervise anybody. No, you have to meet certain requirements to even supervise someone as a supervisor too. So there's a lot of things put in place for us to be held accountable to make sure that we are providing quality care as well.
Yeah, and then I kind of wanted to touch on that because we had Heather Jones, and she was part of the last summit we did, and she was talking about like her topic was like who helps the helpers, and being in this field and you're going into it so much that you're pouring into so many people, but who pours into you? And then the whole process of you going through the process is that you gotta get a field supervisor. You're coming out of pocket a lot of times for this stuff. And, you can't work a regular job during the times because it's taking up so much of your time to get through the whole process of the education process. Can you touch a little bit more about that process of going through it and actually get into it and you know, spending the time and the dedication it takes to actually get to where you're at. Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, you have to have a master's degree, period. Okay. To become either a counselor or a therapist, any type of mental health provider, you have to have a master's. And most masters are 2-year programs. Okay. Minimum, with either a quarter system or semester system, either 60 credits or 90. And they have all the requirements. So there's different bodies of regulations. Okay. So like the marriage and family therapy track, if you get a master's, we have the Association of Marriage and Family Therapy. We have these licensed professional counseling boards. So you have to have certain classes to even meet criteria to be licensed as well. So schools have to be accredited through different bodies to even for someone to even for their masters to even count for licensure. And then while you're in your master's program, there is practicum hours and then there's internship hours. So your first year is practicum, your second year is your internship hours, and every master's program has some set of clinical hours that you have to do to get the field experience. And I agree with you. I was just talking about it the other day. I think mental health in itself takes a lot of hits where our internships are not paid, majority of them, sadly. But you don't necessarily see that in other professions. Somewhere, somehow, mental health professionals, because we want to do the dirty work in the community, we don't need money. Right? Like, hey, we're doing pro bono work, right? We're doing the humanitarian work. Who needs money, right? So like our internships are not paid. And there's actually certain schools out there that won't allow you to have a paid internship too, which baffles me because I actually started paying my interns where it was allowed. So that's something that I've also created at UMEED Center. Is actually doing some form of compensation, even if it's minimum wage, man. At least they'll pay for somebody to drive up to a UMEED Center. Like, come on, right? So I think you have to have that field experience, and then after your graduation, Deanna, if you want to take over and explain that process, that would be great.
After your graduation, then in each state, again, is a little bit different, but you have so many hours that you have to have of supervised experience. Again, this is where you're like a resident physician. You're not practicing under your own medical license. You're practicing under the license of a supervising therapist. And then that can take, 2 years, probably anywhere from 2 to 4 years, depending upon how many hours the person is working. In Minnesota, the state of Minnesota, the requirement is that master's level clinicians have 4,000 hours of supervised experience, at least for master's level clinicians that have a master's in counseling and are getting the LPCC, which is licensed professional clinical counselor, sort of like that license. You have to have 4,000 hours of licensed supervision. And so, like Dr. Q said, I'm a board approved supervisor. So when I reached my hours for supervision or for licensure, I had to be licensed at least 2 full years before I could become a supervisor. I think I was licensed maybe 3 or 4 before I became a supervisor. But so I supervise folks that are, they're graduate level clinicians and they're working towards those hours. And what I will say to that is sometimes I know that there can be a hesitancy for people who are seeking a therapist to seek someone who's pre-licensed. And those therapists are very skilled clinicians. They're still working towards their full licensure. But I get to supervise some people that are really, really excellent therapists. They aren't fully independently licensed yet, but they know what they're doing. They care about the work. They're driven towards receiving continuing education, even before it's a requirement by their licensing board. I mean, these are people who care about the work. And so that would be what I would say about pre-licensed folks, is that they're very dedicated and they're learning and growing in the same way that I would say that I'm learning and growing in this profession. And I've been doing it for a long time, but I don't think you ever reach a place where you've mastered it.
Yeah. And when you've mastered something else hits you.
It's Always new information coming down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Leslie had a question. I'm not sure exactly what this is. She says, were therapists part of or impacted by the so-called non-professional movement? Now, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Maybe it's AI or Google or the internet
Chat
information.
GPT therapist?
Maybe. Has your field been impacted by non-therapists or professionals?
Yeah, I think it'll be good if Leslie wants to elaborate, and then maybe, I don't know, Deanna, if you want to chime in on attempting to answer the question.
I mean, what came to my mind is that there's a lot of people who do not practice within their lane, therapists or otherwise. I think sometimes people seek out like a professional coach for help with something, and that can turn in or devolve into something that looks like therapy when it's not intended to be. I don't know if that's what Leslie means, but it's important to stay within your scope of practice for anything that you're doing. I'm not sure though. I certainly ChatGPT and AI therapy can pose an issue, but I'm also just curious that we can answer the question accurately.
Yeah.
So, Leslie, if you have a little bit more to throw into that question, please feel free to put in the comments or send me a direct message, and I'll kind of elaborate. But while Leslie's doing that, telehealth. During the pandemic, it became a real big thing. Telehealth and in person. Are you either one of y'all doing telehealth and in person, or one or the other, or both? And tell me how that's going and how you balancing those.
Yeah, I'm actually doing both. Yet I would say I am more transitioning. Most of 80% of my sessions are in person. I opened up a physical space for UMEED Center almost 3 years ago because I wanted to do in-person sessions. I realized the first year that I was doing all virtual, I wasn't able to reach children. I wasn't able to do, like, there were just some limitations around doing virtual therapy, yet it is very effective, right? It just really depends on your modality. It depends on your expertise. It depends on even you as a social person. Like me, I was like, I need to get out. Like, I need I'm an extrovert, okay? I need to be around people. I need to wear these fancy heels in the office, okay? I need to get up and get done. Like for me, like I love people, and so yeah, most of my clients are in person, and then we kind of like dabble with making sure there's access available to services. So if emergencies happen, the weather is bad, right? Of course, storms happen. Like, it is just it's a resource that we have that I think is amazing in so many ways with telehealth.
Thank you. How about you, Deanna?
I am 100% telehealth. I was not telehealth before COVID. COVID happened, and actually, at first, I hated telehealth. It was a very difficult switch to go from being in person to being on a screen all day. But as COVID went on and telehealth became, kind of the standard of practice for such a long time, I grew to love it, and I really enjoy telehealth. I love to be home, for starters. I'm a homebody. I love to wear my leggings. Dr. Q and I are opposites on this one. And I like the flexibility that telehealth offers people. And that, so for me, since I'm telehealth only, I have a lot of people who live further out in more rural parts of Minnesota that couldn't access care as easily if it wasn't for telehealth. And it makes the accessibility for them just so much easier. And so I love telehealth. Love it.
Don't get me wrong. I love my leggings too, as I'm wearing them right now. Okay.
Me too.
Okay. I love my leggings. I love the flexibility. And yeah, I love being out and about too. So,
Yeah.
I might say that both of y'all have the ability to really connect with people virtually. You have very good skill sets with that. I've seen both of y'all in action, doing different sessions at the summits, and also in here. Yeah, have personable personalities that translate through telehealth, which sometimes is probably very hard. Sometimes I know some people struggle with making that connection because they're not physically next to somebody, and both of y'all do that really well. And Dr. Q, I've seen you in person. Speak in a room. You can work a room and connect with people as well in that way too. So y'all both skilled professionals. So it shouldn't be any trouble with y'all. We do have a question from Nicole. Nicole has a question. How do you get to the point where you're satisfied with your expertise?
That's a really, really good question. And I do want to highlight, Nicole, thank you for joining us. She's actually going to be interning with us at UMEED Center in August. So she is completing her master's degree in mental health counseling, and I believe it's school counseling, educational counseling. Yeah. So how do you you get satisfied with your expertise? Oh my God. I think it's a self-reflection and self-awareness process, honestly. Like if I were to break it down, right? Because like even doing this for 20 years, I'm itching to always learn more. There's always some form of growth happening. There's some form of something coming out. Like you may want to specialize in something or learn more about it, so you go get CEUs, which is continuing education units, right? Like I think you really have to be aware of where you are. And I think for me, I realized that I was at my peak is when I felt the confidence in me. When you say, Damien, I can work a room, like I could be sleeping, wake up and work a room. Like literally, it's that confidence that you know you're going to walk in and you're going to be able to do great because you know your stuff. Like even for example, and I'm not saying you don't need preparation, okay? So like for our Father's Day event, we had a panel, right? So, there's so much going on in my brain. And I literally, the person who was moderating the panel, he's like, Dr. Q, where are my questions at? And I'm like, hey, hold on. I pull out my phone. They're all in my head. And I'm like, listen, I'm sending you a text message. Here's your questions. He started laughing. He's like, oh, is that how you roll? I'm like, yep, because they've been in my brain. Here's your questions in a text message. But me, 5 years ago, I would be that was not me, right? So I think there's just certain things that happen in life that you're just like, oh my God, I know my stuff. So follow the confidence. Like when you start building that, you're gonna know you're an expert, right, Deanna?
Yeah, I think that like any type of growth, like doing things and just getting your feet wet with something makes you build confidence as you go on. I mean, anyone like learning to read as a kid, it takes time to build confidence, learning to read. And that's something that comes with practice and repetition and doing things and challenging yourself. But I think also, I mean, I hope that I don't ever get bored with this career or lose my interest and drive to want to know more and to do more trainings and to dive deeper into the work. Because the possibility for growth is really, I don't think anybody's ever actualized in it. I don't think you can actualize it in this career because there's so much to unearth with folks. And what I'll also say, what I always tell clinicians that are kind of coming into the field is consult. I mean, when you're pre-licensed, you have to do it. But even beyond that, we can all get stuck. I feel stuck sometimes in this work. And so consult with your fellow clinicians and that's so valuable. It's such a valuable resource because you're never beyond getting stuck or feeling stumped with something.
And countertransference is real.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Is real.
Oh girl, I love studying psychoanalysis. That's what I've done is study psychoanalysis. Countertransference is very real and it's a very valuable tool. It's incredibly valuable. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Damien, we cut you off.
No worries. But I think as your career evolves, it continues. Your career continues to evolve, It starts with you being the person who wants to be the direct helper, and then you start helping other people do the job to help more people. So it starts changing, and then you get into other things like, public speaking. You start talking in rooms. You start building your own center. You do virtual telehealth in person. It starts changing, writing books, magazines. It starts keeping evolving as it goes on. That's why I kind of, when you was talking about mastery of it, it always changes to something else.
Yeah. And I think what I would say to that is we're not going to be able to do this forever. That's just the reality of it, right? So you have to look further down. And even if we ideally want to, we cannot. We cannot physically do it. We cannot mentally do it. We cannot emotionally do it. Like age does matter. Your health does matter, right? So you have, like for me, one of my goals, which is why I'm so big on internships, is like we have to train the next generation of therapists. Even if we want to stay in the field, we have an end date in the field, right? That may not be our end date on this earth, but there's an end date somewhere because you're going to forget things. You're going to be calling someone else's name. Like things do happen, right? And you're going to want to enjoy life too. So it's really important that you are building on that and creating a legacy. That's what we call legacies.
Nice. And that was our conversation yesterday in Leadership and Lemonade. What is your leadership legacy? We were talking about on the 23 Network campus. You touched on it a little bit. What is your what goals are you inspiring for in the future for your career?
So go ahead, Deanna.
Well, I'm starting a new training program this fall. It's a 2-year training program. It's a contemporary relational psychoanalytic training. And I'm really looking forward to it. I've wanted to do this for many years, and I'm finally able to do it. So it's a very rich program. It's actually very countertransference focused. And I'm really looking forward to it. It starts with a retreat this fall in Seattle. And then we get connected with small groups that we'll be with for 2 years and case consultation and readings. And I think it's, again, you can only go as deep with others as you can go with yourself. And this will help me go even deeper. So it's intimidating, but exciting. And the other thing I'm aspiring to be as it relates to this field is an author. I am working on a book. It's the most slow and sure book that's ever coming, but and it's always in some new iteration. But I think I finally am getting, hopefully laying the groundwork for something that will be workable and publishable. So that's my other goal, is to be an author.
Yay, Deanna. I love that for you. And give me the dates and let me know if you need any guest speakers or whatever it is. I will show up. I'll be right there. So one of my goals is to travel. I want to travel. So now we got the little one. So, we got to make the trips a little bit more fun. So I'll be looking at different places where I can attend like a mini conference or retreat while we're having fun on the family side. But travel is definitely on my list. And I think I've already started doing it. And that includes domestic, but also international travel. Book definitely coming. Okay. I don't know when, but hopefully sooner than later. And then I think I don't want to say this is a long-term goal because I really want it to be short-term. I want to have my own talk show. I don't know where it's going to start, but I want to have my own talk show. So I'm putting together some podcasts that are going to get me to go viral, hopefully, not only in this world, but also in Pakistan and India, because I'm going to translate a lot of my work into my own language too, so that I go international. So overall, I do have to say I am going to step a little bit down from the clinical work so I can do all these other amazing things while I'm training the next generation of therapists to do this work, and we all create legacies together.
I like that. And definitely pulling for both of you. Such great people, great energy, and have been passionate about helping people. So we have two more questions. What is your greatest joy as being a therapist?
My greatest joy, I would say people accomplishing their goals. And that could be something as simple as, oh, I woke up today and I showered. Or it could be getting married after a broken heart, graduation. It could be anything. My greatest joy is when I actually see the outcome of all the work that we are doing as healers. And of course, repairing relationships and seeing those, succeed.
I like that. Thank you for saying that. Like, when people are going through stuff, the things that we look as little and we take for granted, like people showering, showing up, and even getting up to drink water, is a tall feat for someone going through stuff.
Mhm.
So thank you for sharing that too as well. Deanna, how about you?
I do a lot of long-term work with people. So I've had people on my caseload for many, many years. And, I've had people on my caseload that in the time that I've known them, they've broken up with a bad partner, met a new partner, gotten married, and have had a kid. And it's so fun to get to be a part of all of that with people. I think sometimes there's a misconception that people just come and trauma dump on us for an hour and then leave every week. And no, you build an extraordinarily meaningful relationship. People allow you into some of the most intimate parts of their mind and in their lives, and things that they don't want to share with other people, they'll share with you. And for people to trust you like that, and allow you to be a part of all of that is really, it's pretty special.
Yeah.
And thank you definitely for sharing that too, because there are a lot of successes and positive milestones that come through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And our last thing, thank you so much for your time and being here. Last thing we always go with, and we always close with a quote. Now, what is that quote that is sticking out for you that you want to leave people with?
I don't know. I have so many.
Yeah, I have one that comes to my mind, and I believe that this is from Carl Jung, who said to therapists, and I guess this is not a verbatim quote, but you'll get the gist of it. It's essentially, which is like, know all the theories and master all the techniques, but at the end of the day, be a human who touches another human. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Q and I are experts in trauma work and this therapy work. But we can all be humans who touch another human. That's actually not specific to being a therapist. And I love that quote, because we just need to be human together sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. It's a powerful quote.
I'm going to Google mine real quick so I make sure I say it right.
Okay.
What is it? Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. All right. So this one is by Maya Angelou, and it says, it's actually my office too. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. And for me, I think at this moment, the message that I want to convey to everyone is looping back around to what we initially started this, segment with, was that we're all humans, right? And we're all allowed to make mistakes. And your mistakes become a lesson when you do better. So when you know better and you figured it out, do better.
Nice. I like that.
So that's actually probably like 2 quotes right there.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as mistakes. They're all lessons.
Yeah. Agreed. And mine is, don't let 10 minutes of a bad moment disrupt the other 23 hours and 50 minutes of your day. Make every minute of every day count. The 2350 Network. It's time to bring people together. I'd like to thank Deanna and Dr. Q for this particular conversation. I appreciate it. It was definitely helpful, exciting, and a great conversation. Thank you, Nicole, for showing up. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Coach Carrie. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Leslie, for showing up. Nick, for showing up. And all those people, see the AI's talking. And all the people out there who showed up on this Sunday for this conversation. And have a safe, happy holiday. If we don't see you, don't run into you. Be safe and goodbye.